right, a very good morning. It is the 25th of October, Friday 25th of October, the year is 2024. Karibu sana, this is the Morning Cafe. Things are boiling nicely in courts and everywhere else, and we'll be here to bring you the lowdown. My name is Fred Indimuli.
And I'm used to Stanley Nyarungita. How many days to Christmas, by the way?
Oh, by the way, it's 61 days to Christmas.
61 days to Christmas.
The countdown continues.
Yes. By next
sherehe ni mingi.
We're going to some 50-something days to Christmas.
Oh yeah, very soon, next week.
Yes. Hey. State of the Nation coming up, as you say, a lot has been happening this particular week. Some legal jargons have been thrown.
Yes, all around, left, right, center. And those are apparently in the preliminaries too. The substantive motion bado ijaskika kotini. Bado wanasema to recuse yourself or but anyway, we'll be looking at that. Plus the other big discussion, this proposal to extend term limits for all elected leaders. The window for public participation ends at midnight tonight. So if at all you've not made or given your comments about that proposal by Senator Cherargei of Nandi, you still have opportunity to do so through the Senate email addresses that were provided like almost a week ago. It ends at midnight. Je, unakubaliana na Cherargei waongeze from 5 to 7 years au la? So these are just some of the discussions we'll be having with these three gentlemen on State of the Nation today. Danson Mungatana, the Senator for Tana River, Jude Njomo, former MP for Kiambu Town, and Wilson Sosion, former SGKNUT, and also a former member of the National Assembly.
Oh yes, and that poster that you'd seen just earlier on, conflict resolution in slums. Now get this, about 54.7% of the general population in Kenya lives in informal settlements. That's way above half of Kenya's population, and definitely conflict arises. So how does the resolution of it happen? We'll be getting in touch with that. With Tom also, he's the president of the National Community-Based Organizations Council, as well as Evelyn Bright. She's the founder, Certified Mediators and Advisory Limited Company. That is what we're going to be having. Fred, uko ready kuruka leo?
Already Friday bana. It is a feel-good Friday. Nilikuja ready. I was born ready.
You were born ready. The man.
But now we'll have to give him space.
Yes. Upper, by the way, this the gentleman himself. Hey. Mbarambamba.
Will he be performing here?
I mean, he has to though. We wait to see. What
do we need a special padding for the studio just to ensure that everything will still be as it is right now after the show?
We Mbarambamba proof. Even you know, baby proof. Well, good Friday, ladies and gentlemen. It's definitely a Friday, and that is what we're going to be serving you, just making sure that your Friday inanza fiti, and the turntablist himself, the gentleman who makes your Friday start off in a very, very nice way. DJ Granite atakuwa na wewe. So anza kutuambia, okay, atakuwa na Bansi Kimuyu, mimi nitakuwa nimetoka kidogo, but then send in your request 2047 as early as now. Tuambie unataka tukuanzishie weekend na nini. A very long headline for a Friday is what the Standard is going with. It's race against time as DP goes for judges. Wangeandika to race against time.
Yeah. By the way, race against time. You've given us the whole story. Anyway, this is the front page of the Standard. And also a picture of the fourth president of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, arriving at Abidjan. And nilisikia jamaa kiuliza, we are always told when Uhuru Kenyatta arrives.
But not where.
But hatujambiwa anatoka wapi, alikuwa wapi. So we just see him arriving somewhere. We saw him arriving in DRC on a Ugandan Airlines flight. Alipandia wapi. We see him arriving elsewhere. Alitoka wapi. Just tell us where he's coming from. But anyway, he's there, and he's in Abidjan. That's Cameroon. Yes.
The Gen Z, or rather we as Gen Z call him Jaden.
Jaden. Yeah. All right. On the Daily Nation, Ruto Adani deals good for you. The president has spoken. Skia. Hii nilikuambia mulikuwa mnasema yeah, it's a done deal. The president has said Adani deals good for you. So Adani is a done deal.
Yes.
And it is good for you, according to the president. That's a big headline on the front page of the Daily Nation. The good thing is you realize that the Nation has the story about Gachagua, but down there, Adani is bigger.
Yes. Thousands say no to 7-year term limit bill, and we still hope as more continue. Kama tusikiliza leo, do the necessary. Probably just give your sentiments to the JLAC committee.
Right.
Yes, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee.
The Star has 2 photos of the former president, and now you realize this is just how much interest. People have not seen Uhuru Kenyatta for such a long time that they're actually giving us 2 photos of the same man on the front page. Ndo mumuone musikie vizuri.
Abidjan is actually in Cote d'Ivoire.
It's Cote d'Ivoire, yeah,
Yes,
Abidjan.
yes.
Yeah.
But then these guys try and at least tell us where he was last seen, where reports were saying nduru za kuaminika zilikuwa zinasema alikuwa wapi. You know, they're telling us where reports were saying he was sick in Boston, US. The last place he was ever seen was in Nigeria.
Huwezi jua alikuwa wapi. You wouldn't know. On the People Daily, police on the spot over 339 killings. You also realize the story about Gachagua's impeachment is not the big deal on the front page of the People Daily. In fact, they give more prominence to President Uhuru Kenyatta's photo arriving in Abidjan. But yes, matters to do with police and the kind of crime rate that appears to be going high. I think.
For the recent weeks.
Yes. So that's the People Daily.
Ruto tetea dili za Adani. Sema pale serikali yangu imejitolea kuingia kwenye mikataba na sekta ya kibinafsi kuhusu miradi ya miundo misingi. Hayo ni maneno ya Rais William Ruto hapo.
All right, gazeti la Taifa Leo. Matters Business KRA to track motorist fuel use with eTIMS link. I'm telling you, bado kana finywa tu pole pole hivi, mnafikiria mtahepa hii maneno. So every purchase will from June be accompanied with a receipt. Integration also aimed at curbing fictitious VAT claims. So ukibuy fuel hivi inajulikana tu. Nani alinunua hii? Iko wapi receipt? Usifikirie tu tutanunua fuel. By the way, you know, people rarely take receipts for when they buy fuel. They only do that when they need to report back to their employers. But now there'll be a receipt for every fuel purchase. That is Matters Business. Across the border in Tanzania.
Yes. They say how 1 trillion Tanzanian shillings project will change face of Dar. Hesabu ya haraka, this is about some
1 trillion mingi, maybe about bilioni kadhaa. Sifikiri zimefika 100 lakini
bilioni kadhaa ya Kenya.
Yeah, because 1 trillion shillings just to clean up a city. You know how much we can even Nairobi, which is a bigger city than Dar es Salaam, we cannot spend anything. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, this is Tanzanian money.
But then Matters road infrastructure is big for them. They say the stage is set for the construction of 250 kilometers of paved roads, 75 kilometers of trenches, 9 bus stations, 18 modern markets and 3 dump sites as part of the 1.1 trillion Tanzanian shillings second phase of the Dar es Salaam Metropolitan Development Project.
Either way, this is something very positive, the kind of investment that would go towards cleaning up a city and modernizing it. So Nairobi should actually take cue. Nairobi imekaa tu, nothing being improved for over so many years, but Dar es Salaam could just as well, after them spending their own 1 trillion shillings, could just as well become a better city than Nairobi. And probably this is where their money is coming from. Mining Commission is eyeing a 1 trillion shilling revenue in 2024-2025. In a balance.
Equals out vizuri. Lakini watu wa mjengo hapa Kenya, kuna kazi Tanzania. I doubt if you need a passport to get into Tanzania.
No, there's a East African pass.
Yes.
Actually, you should just cross the border. They say it's a common border. Nena na ID unasema mimi ni Mkenya, wanakuambia karibu ndugu.
Yes. Because I mean, ladies and gentlemen, think about it. 250 kilometers of paved roads, 75 kilometers of trenches, 9 bus stations. Hapa kazi iko. So jipeleke huko Tanzania useme mimi kuinua simiti naweza na kukoroga simiti naweza vizuri.
Right now everyone's saying that times are rough in Kenya. Yes. Well, there are opportunities in Tanzania.
I mean, the president is pushing for this, exporting labor, so
twende Tanzania.
Why not?
Watatukubali kweli? Tukisalia kule Tanzania, gazeti la Mwananchi wanasema vilio rafu kura za maoni CCM. Wagombea wa serikali za mitaa wacharuka, wapinga matokeo, wengine wazichapa kavukavu, uchaguzi warudia baadhi ya maeneo, wachambuzi wa siasa wataka kiini. Hii ni kura za maoni. This is just polls. The normal 2 polls, popularity polls. Yes. So opinion polls wamekasirika sana ati zirudiwe, mungoje election yenyewe inakuja. The civic polls in Tanzania coming up next month.
November, yes. So then I love the fact that they made space for Gachagua there.
Yeah, nyinyi mkimnyima space kwenye front page yako naye pale. Gachagua, serikali Kenya hapatoshi Habari yenyewe kwenye ukurasa wa 24 kwenye gazeti hili la Mwananchi, na kule Tanzania they've been keeping tabs on what's happening with this gentleman. I think maybe wanaona their situation is rather close to ours.
So let's monitor.
You know, people in Uganda do not even understand what you're talking about. A deputy president needs to be impeached.
For them, this is a whole drama series that's folding.
It starts and ends with President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Finished. Do you even know his vice president? No one knows. No one cares. Yeah. Shilingi trilioni 1 kungarisha barabara za mitaa Dar es Salaam.
Taarifa lile. Hii ni masuala ya Tanzania. Tuende kule Uganda, on the front page of Daily Monitor, and a very clean front page. First off, they go with a conversation that you'll rarely see in Kenya on the front pages. Dying without a written will? What happens if one dies without writing a will? A legal document directing how the deceased's estate should be managed. Inaleta ile maneno ya estate za kina Rigathi Gachagua. This is a frequently asked question. We explore the legal possibilities. We have that on page 4.
All right.
Yes.
The other big story given prominence on the front page is leading causes of death in Uganda. Ni nini na consume what Uganda? So they talk even about babies, cases of hypertension, premature babies, but I think the neonatal deaths, these are newborn babies. I think that's the highest killer, 4,208. Boda pale, motorcycles account for slightly less than 1,000 deaths.
Yes.
Hypertension, 1,241. This is in Uganda. I'm sure the numbers in Kenya would be quite much higher. Also UTI, killing quite a number of people. Malaria, put there in red. Yes, 2,917. That's actually a very high number. And tuberculosis as well, coming a distant third or fourth at 912. So death dealers, complications experienced by newborn babies, pneumonia, malaria, preterm births, and anemia have been listed as the 5 leading causes of death in Uganda's health facilities.
And Uganda today decided to focus on matters health. This is on New Vision.
All right.
They say best worst hospitals named. Lira, Soroti beat other districts. More is on page 6 and 7, and they also mention the highest ranked as well as the lowest ranked, and they even give the score for this particular hospitals. So ni wewe unaangalia hii hospitali for brothers and sisters who in Kenya, but
the way we rank schools, now they are ranking the hospitals. So unajua unaenda hospitali una rank, unaangalia waliperform aje last time.
Na sasa ukipata hii gazeti na kohosi
unaangalia ile hospitali huko unasema hapana, get me an ambulance.
Alafu kwa lowest ranked unasema mimi nataka transfer.
Get me an ambulance, I just leave.
Hey.
Warriors, chimps eat virus infested bat dropping. So chimpanzees in Uganda zinakula bat infested, virus infested bat droppings. So that could actually mean, and you see, once that virus gets into chimpanzees, there's a very high chance of it getting to humans as well.
Yes.
So that's something to worry about. All right, so Uganda joins BRICS, what it means. That's also a very big story, and it's there on the front page of the New Vision. That's a big deal. In fact, I thought this would be the main headline. Uganda joining BRICS. There are so many, very few nations that have joined that new alliance between Russia, South Africa, China, and India, which is touted as the biggest or the next big economic bloc. So Uganda joining that, kudos to them.
That's a big move there.
So Tanzania wanaosha town na 1 trillion shillings, Uganda wana join BRICS, nyinyi Kenya mko kutini na Gachagua.
Yes. That is how things are looking like. We'll be back to take a look at mostly the local dailies in depth for them. Let's take a look at the weather and see what is there. Weather in Moyale today. We're going to be taking a look at hatakuwa na nyinyi on Saturday and Sunday. Going to take a look at over the weekend. For today, wenletea Moyale in Ethiopia. Okay.
Moyale is actually in Kenya and Ethiopia. Ni hapo kwa border.
So 24 degrees right now. It's going to be as high as 28.
29 actually.
Oh yeah, 29. So some clear blue skies today in Moyale. And highest temperatures over the weekend, as high as 31 on Saturday and 29 on Sunday. Another place in kule Mombasa, I think maybe the temperatures are going to be similar to that in Moyale, 25, but it's 25, but it feels like 28. Also, some clear blue skies as the highest temperatures you're going to be getting in Mombasa. Chinipandisha juu kidogo in Mombasa is 29. Over the weekend, it might be cloudy on Saturday, but itachezea tu hapo 30, so not to worry if you're in Mombasa. Tuangalie Western. Tuone venye itakuwa. Vihiga 17 right now, but it feels like 21. Cloudy morning, but things are going to be warm over the day. Leo bedhe ni kama mvua imepotea in different parts of the country, 0.0 millimeters. Highest temperatures you're going to be getting is 28. Over the weekend, it might just be raining and be cloudy on Saturday, 27, as well as 27 on Saturday and Sunday. Finally, in Nairobi, 16 degrees right now. It's going to be some light showers over in the mid-morning. Angalia precipitation 0.0 millimeters, but venye wanatuambia hapa 5% precipitation. So expect that this particular morning, some drizzles kidogo in some parts of the city. But after that, getting all the way into the evening, clear blue skies in Nairobi. Highest going to be getting is 27. Over the weekend, if you're planning a kasherehe or something like that,
this is the best weekend actually. Yeah,
yes,
a very sunny weekend in Nairobi. So best for weddings, best for those outdoor, you know, taking a chilled out drink. This is the weekend, I tell you. Kama una mpango, we can do it. It is a feel good Friday right here on Morning Cafe. So yes. Do we have today in history?
But before even today in history, definitely even for the diary. You had alluded to first off the first one. Let me take a look at. So on the diary, you're going to be expecting the GLAC committee to be meeting today. GLAC is the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. It's going to be meeting today to hear this particular, to hold public hearing on the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2024 today. That seeks to, among others, extend terms of Member of Parliament, President, Governor, MCA, and create office of Prime Minister to be appointed by the President. Also provide procedure of removal of Governor / Deputy Governor. Something interesting even for this bill that Cherargei should have added is the procedure of removal for Deputy President / President, because it is lacking that bill. And right now we're in that quote-unquote crisis at the moment, so it should be provided for that. Something else expected today, the Communications Authority of Kenya will be hosting the 2024 Africa Regional Cyber Sector Collaboration Symposium, which will be graced by the Communications Cabinet Secretary, that is Margaret Ndungu. Stick around for that. And then today at around 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., whatever you do, ladies and gentlemen, have your remotes hapo, weka battery, a remote fully charged, alafu, tafuta popcorns, because between 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. it's going to be fireworks. The Football Kenya Federation presidential debate is going to be happening. And it's going to be a whole live coverage, courtesy of TV47, Cape Media, also Radio Africa, Radio Jump is going to be there. So we're going to be having the 9 presidential candidates. They're being grilled by Tony Kolanda and someone from Radio Africa. Watuambie, hii football ya Kenya, wenye tunaenda.
Wanampango gani?
Wanampango gani.
All right.
That is just a nutshell of what to expect in our subsequent bulletins. Right now though.
Today in history.
International Artists' Day. This day honors artists of all kinds, painters, musicians, writers, and performers, recognizing their contributions to culture and society.
Right, I didn't know it's so I should be telling you Happy Artist Day.
Yes, Happy Artist Day. Are you an artist?
Mucho rest stories.
All right, let's now get down to the dailies, local dailies in depth.
Yes.
So we start off with the Standard, and we're trying to rush it up a bit. Of course, the big stories, what is happening with Gachagua in the courts, the expected declaration by the judges, with whether or not they will recuse themselves and going forward, because what wanauliza, okay, fine, the swearing in of the new deputy president, when is it going to happen? Probably we'll find out today. Of course, there's a lot of excitement around the reappearance of former President Uhuru Kenyatta as well. Those are just some of the big stories and what the president said about Adani as well. But other quick and stories that will definitely touch a lot of your attention. Shock and fear after Eastleigh triple killings. People are talking about the rising crime rate. That story is on page 3 of this paper. And they talk about fear and unrest grip Eastleigh over killing of 3 family members. The other story that I think we should pay attention to is on the business pages. Concerns as KRA goes for phones.
Yes, now this one really...
It's on page 19. Hii imeguza watu. Ni kama kuguza mlima. Hii imeguza watu. So just a quick look at it. It says, privacy concerns as KRA targets mobile phones in new tax push. Listen to this. The KRA is seeking to register all mobile devices used in the country in a new push to ensure tax compliance. Mulifikiria mutapotea, kwani nyinyi ni nani? It's there on page 19 of the Standard. And I think it's also there on the Daily Nation as well, the back page.
Oh, yes. Yes. They say phones to be locked out of network over unpaid taxes. And a quote there by the Communications Authority of Kenya is the back page of Daily Nation. With effect from January the 1st, 2025, MNOs, I'm trying to get what MNOs means. MNOs must ensure that they only connect devices to their networks after verifying the tax compliance status. So jitayarisha for this, and you can definitely read into all this on the back page of Daily Nation and understand, as a user of mobile phones, how does this affect you as well. Lakini
kuna simu zitazimika. Zile simu zenye unanunua simu na probably haijalipiwa tax, the IMEI number. IMEI. They have to register each and every one of those, and they'll be linking that up with KRA.
Yes.
So kama hiyo IMEI haijapiwa tax, hiyo simu hauwezi tumia.
This IMEI that mnasikia tukisema is the International Mobile Equipment Identity. Yes.
So just how that will affect you as an individual, you can read that story on the back page of the Daily Nation, also on page 19 of the Standard today. But the big story on the Daily Nation, of course, President William Ruto's pronouncements on the Adani deal. He says Adani is a done deal, and it's a good deal for you. But I like the fact that they've paid a lot of attention on the rising cases of crime.
Yes.
So this Wells Fargo HR and how he walked into a death trap also features on the front page of the Daily Nation, as well as the Eastleigh killings, the last moments of mother, daughter, and niece, and that is on page 2. So page 2 and 3 of this paper, that's the Daily Nation, talks about just the crime rate and the deaths that we've, I think they've left out one, of the young lady who was found dead. It's somewhere in Thika.
Yes.
And I think the daughter to...
nominated MCA's daughter.
MCA, yes.
Yeah.
There's also the MCA for... Where was this? Della Ward, who was abducted. So DNA, the body that was found, they say the DNA is failed to link body to missing ward rep. So that story is also there on page 2 of the Daily Nation.
So yeah, no, these are 3 different, on from 2 and 3, they have 3 different...
and to think that there's another story that they left out.
Yes.
Yes.
That's just
tells you how bad the situation is in as far as crime is concerned.
On the back page of Daily Nation also, they talk about the National Assembly, Senate clash of county budgets. The impasse between the 2 houses is now headed for mediation. This morning, the fact that we're going to be having former members of parliament as well as a senator, we probably hope to get more insight on this one.
All right. Let's take a look at another daily, and that's the Star.
Thousands say no to 7-year term limit bill. Have the hard copy of the Star today. Smart people read the Star. Proposed law increases term of service for president, senators, MPs, as well as MCAs and governors, on pages 4 and 5.
All right.
Say misplaced priorities is what the Star says. Written memoranda from Kenyans rejecting bill submitted to the Senate. And you have until today midnight, by the way, to submit your memoranda for the same.
It's quite a heavy paper because it contains the siasa pullout, and on the siasa pullout they talk about the politics of term limits since independence. Also, they talk about healing, that they say is crucial after Gachagua's removal, and Kindiki's elevation. So there might be need for healing. Yes. But of course, a lot of excitement around the reappearance of the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, and as I said earlier, they found it necessary to have two photos of the same gentleman,
yes.
Which is very rare on the front page. They usually just use one photo. Ni ngumu sana ati unapewa picha mbili yako tu from the same place, same day. So yes, just the excitement of seeing the former president appearing again. So the People Daily.
Police on the spot, over 339 killings, something also reflected on the front page of Daily Nation. They say case of murder increased in 2024, at least 15 abductions reported in the past 2 months, and families search for missing loved ones as state officials sit on their hands. It's become so rampant that right now you can just watch videos on different social media platforms of people being kidnapped, or you're actually witnessing, and it's slowly becoming a norm. So the question is,
fact that there are quite a number,
should we be getting there?
There are quite a number of families whose relatives are missing, and they're just in distress and they don't know. And you know, something like this, unless it affects you directly, you may never understand what people are talking about. But you can imagine a family sitting at home, they don't know where their father or mother or brother or sister is. And that's a bit distressing. There's a very nice story here on page 3. Relief for Kenyan facing hangman in the Gulf. So I think you can read more about that. What does it relief mean? Does it mean he is given an extension, or will he be pardoned?
Yes. Pale chini, the Good Matters Sports, it's 9 African teams for 2026 World Cup, and Kenya is just hanging on the loose there. Harambee Stars lost some of their points on the FIFA rankings. On Sunday, they're going to be playing against South Sudan, and then they're going to be having their return leg next week. So, jitayarishe for this. Also, by the way, the Junior Starlets walipiga Mexico. They were playing in Dominican Republic.
Oh, right.
Yes, and they're expected to jet into the country probably today or tomorrow thereabout.
Okay.
So it's going to be something big as well.
Anasema Ruto atetea dili za Adani. I think we've already covered that story. Rais azungumza kwa mara ya kwanza kuhusu shirika hilo lililojishindia dili za mabilioni. He was talking about the deal with the Ketraco. It is the same company that's dealing with the JKIA. So let's take a look at the other stories given prominence on this front page. Vidokezo, KDF wawili wanaswa kuua mwanafunzi. DNA asema mwili si wa MCA wa Wajir, na Harris adai Trump ni dictator.
Yes.
It's a dictator. Who you say that?
Pale juu Raila kuzindua kampeni.
Nilidhani ashazindua.
Now the fact that Uhuru is in Cote d'Ivoire, I don't know if Raila will also be heading there to just use that bromance yao. Tete pia.
So as far as tax is concerned, we take a look at the Business Daily. Kuna hiyo mambo ya mobile phone kando. Sasa wanasema KRA is going to track motorists' fuel use with eTIMS. The KRA is linking its eTIMS management system to fuel stations in a bid to weed out tax cheats and boost revenues by billions of shillings through monitoring motorists' consumption of diesel and petrol. Munacheza na KRA. Amujai waona namna hii.
It's on the cartoon at the Star. I'll be showing you that in a few. Wameiweka hapo vizuri sana.
So let's take a look at the cartoons as we come to the end of this news review. And we start off with the Standard. So there's a family seated there watching the impeachment of the deputy president on TV. So the boy is seated on the carpet watching, and anaambia mama yake, Mom, shouldn't daddy recuse himself from punishing me whenever I make mistakes in the house?
Hey.
So this is the jargon that now we understand. Impeachment, recusal also. Ni kama kuna jamaa alijirecuse from a discussion earlier this week on T47. But, on the
People Daily.
Stano's take.
Yes, and another death trap is what this common mwananchi is asking, and she's looking at
a crumbling building.
Yes, crumbling building. Imeandikwa RIP, NHIF crossed, SHIF tick. But
so you seem to have moved from NHIF. They've changed the name of the building.
Yes.
But the building is still the same and it's crumbling. Will a change in name affect anything? All right. And finally, on the Daily Nation. Securing Adani.
Yes, the gentleman, the important man is in between there, he's smiling. And there are different copies of...
the same guy.
Yes, the same guy who is protecting him. Akona vitu tumevaa sisi kwa masikio.
Anagaga Secret Service. The same guy. Amekaa tu amesurround all this. There's one man protecting Adani.
Yes.
There's none other than the president himself.
Alafu kuna hii the star hapa. I don't know if you're able to see it, but then I'll explain it to you. The common mwananchi ameshikilia simu and mtu wa KRA yako pale ameingiza mkono yake kwa hiyo simu, and on the other hand there are a couple of coins, and the gentleman there wearing a pink countersuit with a bucket is hoping to beg for hii pesa yenye inaokotwa kwa hii simu ya mtu. Yes,
they're going to milk you proper.
Ndio hiyo.
Coming for your mobile phones. All right, that is as much as tax. That's a cartoon on the Star today. All right, we'll be discussing some of these issues: IEBC reconstitution, DP Gachagua's wars in the courts, as well as a proposal to increase term limits that is before the Senate. With my panelists after the break, Senator Danson Mungatana of Tana River, Jude Njomo, former MP of Kikuyu Town, and Wilson Sosion, former SG of KNUT, after the break. So do stand by for that. It is a big conversation. These are the big headlines. You can be part of the conversation as well on X at TV47 News and on Facebook, TV47 Kenya. You can tag me as well on X. My handle is at Freddy Ndimuli.
And you ring it _22047 is our SMS number. Coming up at around 8 a.m., we'll talk about conflict resolution in slums. What does it mean? A huge population in the country live in slums. But how do we go about conflict resolution? And then after that, we let loose. Bansi Kamui will be right here with you kwenye Feel Good Friday na DJ Granite. Na pia Mbarambamba atakuwa hapo hivi. So tell someone tutakuwa hapo hivi na Mbarambamba.
We're working to reinforce the studio. All right, let's take a break. You're watching Morning Cafe.
FKF president is on. Who will lead the future of Kenyan football? This Friday, we bring you a live debate as the contenders face off, each tabling their vision on how to transform the Kenyan football. Join us live from the Catholic University of Eastern Africa this Friday the 25th from 6 to 9 p.m. only on TV47.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, We inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati
All right, welcome back. And good morning once again. You're watching TV 47. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. This is a State of the Nation where we take a look at the big headlines, the big discussions. This entire week has been, of course, about the impeachment process and the processes in court going on. We do expect a major ruling today on whether or not the three-judge bench that's presiding over this case currently will accuse itself. But that we have to wait. If you look at the dailies today, there's a suggestion that the conversations could be changing. The Star goes with a big headline, thousands say no to the 7-year term limit bill, which we'll be looking at. Actually, on the front page of the Star, there's very little mention of the impeachment of the deputy president. It's actually just highlighted at the very top because it's in the Siasa pullout. The Standard, yes, focuses on the impeachment. It's race against time as DP goes for judges. A lot of excitement on the reappearance of President Uhuru Kenyatta in Abidjan, in Ivory Coast. And the Daily Nation talks about Ruto, Adani deals good for you. So while you're busy focusing on the impeachment, issues to do with the Adani deals still big. So they say President William Ruto has finally shown his hand, throwing his weight behind the controversial multi-billion shilling Adani deals to the energy, transport and health sectors, which he says will help to ease the tax burden on Kenyans and reduce the country's reliance on borrowing. And in his defense, 95 billion shillings deal between Adani Energies and Ketraco will cut power costs, according to the president. So we'll be looking at that as well. Allow me to introduce my panelists this morning. We're privileged to have in studio with us Jude Njomo, former MP Kiambu Town, and Senator Danson Mungatana of Tana River. Good morning, gentlemen, na karibuni sana.
Good morning.
So the big story has been about the impeachment, but before we even get to that, because it has a lot of implications, there's still lack of certainty on when, if at all, the DP designate Kithure Kindiki will be sworn in. Let's talk about the president's assertions yesterday. It is the very first time that we've heard the president talking about Adani. Previously, everyone else has been talking about it, including his newfound friend Raila Odinga. the candidate for AUC chairman's post, defending Adani and the deals the company or conglomerate is engaging in Kenya. Now the president coming out for the very first time to give his stamp of approval for the same. And Senator, how timely is this pronouncement by the president when it comes to the Adani deals?
Good morning, viewers who are listening to me. Good morning, Fred, again.
Good morning.
May I just state that yesterday we were sitting as the Senate Energy Committee, and one of the people that came before us, one of the teams that came before us was the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, with their CEO and the entire team, and we had a lot of good engagement. One of the things we discussed was, do we need the investment being done by Gachagua and Adani? Do we need that partnership? Is there a need for Kenya to go into this kind of arrangement? So it is very clear that we've had massive blackouts, and some of these blackouts, they go to affect the entire country. And so the Kenya Association of Manufacturers were telling us, for smaller factories, they experience maybe 1 million loss in terms of your revenues, because if you calculate how many times you've had to go to your diesel generators, or how many times you've got to stay without doing any work, and you still pay those workers because they are on your payroll, some of the going concerns are doing like 1 million, but the bigger ones are doing 10 million, 30 million, 20 million losses because of the instability of the power infrastructure. So the idea of stabilizing offtake of power from where it is generated to the consumers through Gachagua is a very good idea. So Kenyans listening to me, we are going to, the end product of this agreement, according to the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, is that we will have stability in terms of the offtake of power from where it is generated to your homes, to your factories, to your businesses, so that we have less of these problems. You know, in South Africa, and I keep mentioning South Africa because I head the delegation for the MPs and senators who represent Kenya in the Pan-African Parliament in South Africa. In that place, we could be in Parliament, for Christ's sake, and there's a power blackout. We are in the Pan-African Parliament, the continent's parliament, and there is power blackout. And they say we are doing rationing. So we are expecting the end product of this to be that there will be more secure supply or transmission of power to your homes. So as far as Kenya Association of Manufacturers is concerned, it's a good deal. It's a good idea. Execution of that deal is another story altogether. So execution of that deal is where now the nuts and bolts come in. Was there, proper public participation? Was there competitive bidding? Were all the provisions of Public Partnership Act, Private-Public Partnership Act, were they all followed? You know, these issues that are relevant to process. This is where the challenge is. And about the idea, it's a good idea. Yeah. And I think the president is very right on that. But about the process, the mechanics of it, I think those are the questions that the public
that's the biggest concern. That's a
needs
concern.
to look at.
No one is questioning that this public-private partnership because it's even provided for within our laws.
The law, yeah.
It is one way for Kenya to pursue some of its interests and some of its development agenda.
Yeah.
No one is questioning that. The problem is that even the two gentlemen who've declared their support, and they're politically heavy, none of them has sought to address the issue of the process, or the questions that Kenyans are asking. How come the issues you're raising? How come there was no proper public participation? How come there was single sourcing and all this? Not the president, not Raila Odinga. Both of them are just talking about how good the deal is, how ideal it is. No one is questioning how ideal it will be. Bwana John Jomo.
Thank you, Fred, and good morning, viewers. I agree with the first part of Honorable Mukatana's argument about the need to have that kind of investment. But that need also needs to be assessed, because we are in a country where needs are generated. I would like to cite an example of the same energy sector. A couple of years ago, we were introduced to independent power producers. Now, before we got these independent power producers, there were so many blackouts and power failures. And later, it was investigated and found out those power failures could have been engineered to create that need to have some investors bring in their generators. Now, because of the crisis that was there, it did not go through competitive bidding. And some of the kind of tenders that, the kind of contracts that our country entered into is what is causing the high cost of electricity today. So had we followed some procedures then to ensure that we have done a competitive bidding, and that whoever is contracted is giving us the best value for our money, we could not be in the situation that we are in. So we find ourselves in a similar situation. Just the other day, after this new government came into place, we were taken to the airport, and we saw there were leaking roofs when it was raining, and all that. It has never happened before. That roof has been there forever. How comes it rained this time round? Or maybe they had not swept the gutters or something. You know, that caused now for heavy investment. Yes, we may need to expand our airport, but that does not mean that we forgo all the laid down processes and procedures. I know there is an avenue in the law that allows for this kind of private participation or private investment. But we should also subject it to competition. Are there other companies, are there organizations within the world which would like to inject their money in this? Why don't we invite them and do an advertisement and say, we want this kind of investment, whoever is interested, come on board. And that way we are going to get the best that there is. So it may be a very good idea, but it needs to be subjected to competition. And lastly, transparency. You know, His Excellency the President has told us it is a good deal. We may want to agree with him, but we would also like to read the nitty-gritties of what is this good deal that is good, and that we are allowed by our constitution to scrutinize that kind of investment, because it is in public interest. So it looks like things have been done, you know, behind the scenes, and we are being served with cooked food, and we want to question, how was this food prepared?
Right.
How did we come to this kind of food?
Allow me to introduce onto the panel Wilson Sosion. Wilson Sosion is a
Mwalimu
Wilson Sosion. Thank you for that correction, Bwana Njoba. The former Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Teachers, also served as a member of the National Assembly. Karibu sana. We are talking about the big headline on the front page of the Daily Nation. It has not been making that much. It has not been getting a lot of prominence, only this time getting the big headline on the Daily Nation, which is the biggest paper in Kenya, because of the president's pronouncements. This is the very first time he's talking about the Adani deals. But we're saying in his pronouncement, he fell short of explaining or trying to answer the questions that Kenyans are asking. Yes, he just says it is a good deal. Kenyans are not worried about how good a deal it is. They are worried about the process used for us to arrive here. Was there enough public participation? Was there competitive bidding? Was all these things the president is not answering the question. This question still linger, Bwana Sosion. Do you think the president has done us justice in simply telling us it is a good deal?
The questions will remain, but we've seen the mega PPP projects undertaken within a certain provision of the law. Of course, there's a law governing this particular undertaking, and of course, we saw the other day the Right Honorable Prime Minister giving it a clean bill of health, and the infrastructure master plan did not start with the government of President William Ruto, neither did it even start with the government of Uhuru Kenyatta. This was heavily conceived during the Kibaki administration, and you had the Right Honorable Prime Minister accounting and saying, yes, these key master plans were conceived at that time. And I remember in 2007 when Raila was vying for presidency, he said the only way to change the economy is to invest in infrastructure, infrastructure, and infrastructure. Right now, we do not have the luxury of time, and President Ruto knows very well that his time is 5 years, and these are infrastructure that must be delivered, particularly power and transport infrastructure. And you know, power is very critical now. The level of consumption of power in Kenya is high. Many households are being connected to electricity. There are more investors coming in, so the demand for power really has gone up. So if you engage in ping pong, and Jomo knows, that space, there are a lot of interest and cartels. And if you are to take time to do certain things in the manner in which you would want to do, there will be a lot of litigations and wars, and it will never end because there are cartels and interest in that particular space. So when this was identified through, of course, single sourcing is allowed in law. There's a provision of the law that allows that, particularly when they're too urgent and they need to be delivered, and you need a credible entity with proven track record of delivering such projects to be granted. So once the president has pronounced that Adani is a good deal and it's already granted space and contracts within the power sector and the transport sector, so be it. So then the next question will be, what is it that we want to be delivered? And by which time frame? I think those are the questions that we need to ask as Kenyans.
But I'm asking these questions because listening to the impeached deputy president, he mentioned something that was very curious when he left hospital. And he talked, and this is someone who is privileged enough to have a lot of information within government, that even the Adani deal, there's a lot of corruption around it. Are we saying and listening to Bwana Sosion that probably it is a fact that Kenyans have a lot of mistrust? There's a general trust deficit between Kenyans and William Ruto's administration, and hence the need for all these questions to be asked, because if we give the gentleman the mandate to run the government, shouldn't we allow him to do things probably the way he sees fit?
I think Kenya is a constitutional democracy, and there are people who don't like accepting that we are living in a democracy that is defined within a constitution which we voted for. If you want to be in charge of distributing the resources within Tana River County, run for governor. You know, you want, when the money comes, what goes to health, what goes to the roads, what goes to basic education, and what, run for Tana River County government. Now, if you want to be the person who is overseeing or oversighting, representing the people of Tana River, you know, legislating on behalf of our county at Nairobi, fighting for equitable share and so whatever, run for Senate, okay? So if you tried to run for president and you didn't get the seat, and then there's somebody by constitution who now becomes the creature that we have created to be in charge of the resources, that I will put this amount for salaries, this is the amount I'll put for roads, this is the amount I'll put for agriculture. I don't have enough, I need to borrow there, I need to do this. That is the president that we have, that is the creature we have created within the Constitution. That person called the president with his cabinet and team is a person who is supposed to do that. Now, whether you trust him or you don't, that's the person that we have created by dint of the provisions within the Constitution. So for me, I think we need to settle it within ourselves that we need to support the president in his work. But there will be coming a time when you need to question what he is doing. Now, that is 3 years down the road. You told us you'll do universal health, hatujapata. You told us you'll improve mama mboga, hatujapata. You said you build this road, you didn't. Or you said you will do, you stabilize electricity, you haven't. Now that's the time you will be measuring him. But I think sometimes we over-politicize issues. Let the institutions that are charged with the responsibility do the work they're supposed to do.
It's good that you've mentioned institutions, because when it comes to, yes, voters will decide come 2027, Bwana Jude Njomo, but when it comes to the interim, of course we cannot give government or any administration a leeway to be extreme. That's where the Houses of Parliament come in. When it comes to oversight, it would appear that Kenyans generally feel that when it comes to oversight in this administration, the main institution tasked with that job is not doing its work, hence the mistrust. Do you think that there is a weak link that is causing this trust deficit between Kenyans and the president?
Correct to say, Kenyans are losing faith in the key institution of parliament. You know, both Senate and the National Assembly. They have a strong feeling that it is not the Parliament does not represent them. Whatever they go to argue there does not represent what is really in their hearts. And you know, to support me in this, there was a lot of argument if the important bills are taken with the same kind of speed and vigor, with the kind of impeachment, the vigor that we saw in impeachment, our country would be so far ahead. They were easily able to get the 2/3 majority, something that has always been very, very difficult. If they were looking for bills that will improve on our food sufficiency as a country, improve our agriculture, improve our employment rates in the country, if they were using the same vigor, we would be very, very far away. So people feel that the parliament has distanced itself from their needs and from the people themselves. The parliament does not understand the people. But they have 3 years, to see whether they can reinvent themselves and get back to.
Do you think that the 13th Parliament is redeemable in as far as this perception by Kenyans?
It is very difficult for now, because, in fact, most of the members of Parliament have gone underground. They are not coming out in public. Or the ones who do, they are being shouted down by public. It has gone that bad, and that is why when they hear that Parliament wants to extend its term from 5 years to 7 years, they get chills, because they wonder, what will these guys be doing for 7 years as we wait?
I know you want to chime in, but we are out of time. We need to take a break. We'll be back to continue with this debate, and also to look at the conduct of Parliament and the things they're giving preference to today. Of course, today being the very last day for the Senate's inviting and receiving public participation and public views on the proposal to, among other things, extend term limits that Bwana Jude Njomo has mentioned. You're watching Morning Cafe. Don't go too far.
Azi ni chanzo kikubwa cha uchafuzi wa hewa nyumbani mwako. Pia huleta uharibifu.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side. We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa.
Good morning and welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe right here, TV47. My name is Fred Indimuli. We continue the conversation with these three gentlemen. Senator Danson Mungatano of Tana River, Jude Njomo, former MP Kiambu, Wilson Sosion, former MP and also a former SG of KNUT. Just before the break, we were talking about the president's pronouncements with regard to the Adani deals, and the conversation moved slowly to the conduct of the Houses of Parliament and the trust deficit that exists between the general public and the executive, and how Parliament plays into that. We've seen how efficient Parliament has been, especially in how it has processed the impeachment of the Deputy President. Within 1 week, the matter was brought before the National Assembly, and in a matter of 7 days, even the Senate had already upheld the same decision. Now it's before the courts. It is this same kind of efficiency that Kenyans would expect that the Houses of Parliament would carry matters that are of grave concern to Kenyans as well. But they're not. What we are seeing instead is something different. And one of the biggest conversations today, and I think it has been captured on the front page of the Star, thousands say no to 7-year term limit bill. This is already before the Senate. Proposal by 90 Senator Samson Cherargei. It proposes, among so many things, the extension of term limits for all elected leaders from 5 to 7 years. This is the biggest conversation in as far as that bill is concerned. Today, by midnight, the window for members of the public to give their views on the same will close. Have you been able, by the way, to give your views on this matter? Bwana Sosion, the feeling is that the kind of efficiency we saw with the impeachment of the Deputy President, if such a bill, would it be of interest to the politicians within the Houses of Parliament, it could just as well receive that kind of attention and be fast-tracked, and within a very short time, we are staring at a possible amendment of the Constitution despite this kind of feedback. We've seen the quality of public participation on other major issues, including on the impeachment itself, and the feeling was that the general views of the public were not taken into account. That is a risk and that is a concern Kenyans have. Do you share in that concern?
No, I think that there are obvious gaps in the implementation of the Constitution, and we all do agree. Certain legislations really were needed, and to my feeling, they are still needed, so that Kenyans can fully utilize their constitution and the Kenyans can exercise their sovereign power. It is one thing to have a provision under Article 1 of the Constitution of the people exercising their sovereign power directly, and another thing to create statutes to enable Kenyans to exercise that. Number one, we may need an impeachment act or a bill for that matter, so that it guides, it gives safeguards on the legal parameters and that indeed are required, and constitutional safeguards on the same. So we may need a standalone bill so that quantitatively and qualitatively we can have quality public participation that may require even civic education of the citizenship before you bring in a matter. I would take it, for example, that before the public participation were mounted by the National Assembly, which of course they did very well using the ruling of the Supreme Court at the 47 counties. Before that was done, then probably a day earlier we would have had something like civic education, that you stick to the 11 counts of charges against the Deputy President, don't bring in other issues, because we eventually saw things of Kufa Dereva, Kuva Makanga. It was only dealing, the impeachment was only about Makanga. So if we did proper civic education to the people so that they know,
so you do
within
agree
the rule of relevance,
it wasn't up to...
of course there are gaps. Yeah. So we may need a Public Participation Act so that it's applied in all governance activities and all public policies. Other than what we're having at the moment, I was seeing even TSC doing a few things, and they send out a few circulars, and they allege that they've done public participation. So what really is public participation? We may need that act. Number two, we may also, we may need the Impeachment Act, we may need Public Participation Act, we may need the Referendum Act. Some of the arguments being brought, like now about proposals to amend the Constitution, and it's an act that is in Parliament, is attracting a lot of attention. To me, that one of extension of term limit is a joke. We are past jokes in Kenya. Nobody is going to accept, even if we gave the widest public participation, nobody is going to accept term limit of any president to be extended to 7 years. If anything, it would be a reduction to 4 years, so that we have a president serves two terms over a limit of 4 years each, and they move away. Our democracy has matured so well, but I think what we now need, and Senator here, I hope he agrees with me, we need more acts to enable Kenyans exercise their sovereign power as provided in the Constitution.
There's an issue. There's issue.
We need the Referendum Act. We need the Impeachment
But there's also the
Act,
issue of numbers in the National
and we need
Assembly
the Public
Senate.
Participation Act.
The fear right now is that because of the numbers, because born out of the newfound alliance between ODM and the Kenya Kwanza is that both houses of parliament feel they can do anything that was previously a bit difficult. Proposals to amend the constitution have been there, even attempts to do so through popular initiative and even attempts through parliamentary initiative. But none has been successful. This time round, because you've been able to marshal a supermajority in both houses within 1 week, the feeling is that there's a lot you can do. Anything that seemed or felt a bit impossible or difficult before, right now, hakuna ugumu wa mkate mbele ya chai. That's what they say.
Maybe, Fred, let me just do a bit of civic education. The process of impeachment is not the same as the process of normal lawmaking. Impeachment is a quasi-legal process where the Senate sits as a quasi-legal, as a quasi-judicial authority. So, impeachment is timed, is very timed, whether it be the impeachment of a governor, a deputy governor, a president, or a deputy president. It is very timed. Once that process comes from the county assembly, if it's a governor, and it comes to, we immediately suspend all other business, and focus on that one. Okay, so that's what the law says, because impeachment is a process that involves, let me just say, the governance structure of a county or of a nation. So Kenyans should not forget that this is different from, let's say, what we were debating yesterday in the Senate. In the Senate yesterday, we were debating, and I was on the floor, and I spoke in Kiswahili deliberately so that those who had interest in listening to us can know that we are passing a new law on water. That going forward, we are going to have investors coming to Nairobi City County, for example, coming to Tana River County Government, for example, and saying, I have an interest in partnering with the county government of Tana River to invest in Tawasco, Tana Water and Sanitation Company. So that now, instead of Tana River County government having 100% shares, they will give me maybe 30%. And then in return, now I can do investment in the infrastructure, because the infrastructure that is there in Tana River County is the one that was there in the 1960s, just like in Nairobi and many other counties. There's not been a proper change. So then we still have water problems, people complaining, but the actual fact is that there's no attempt to privatize and to invest in water. So now we are debating a very crucial bill, but there's no media. No media is interested that mnatengeza maji. No media is interested. It will only come when people are now doing procurement, Nairobi County, Tana River, Nakuru, whatever, and then somebody has won a deal. Then suddenly they'll say, no, there's corruption here, there is what and what and what. So the fact of the matter is that every single day we are debating very important matters. But when it comes to political processes, they naturally get more attraction. So I wanted to tell Kenyans on that issue that we are spending as much time on these other important issues as we did for impeachment. The only difference is that impeachment had a time limitation, because like this water, it went to National Assembly, it came to us. We took it back, it came to us. It went to mediation, and then finally now we have agreed. Issues of counties have been taken care of, and now it is going. Once we finish the debate next week,
but you
go to the president.
The numbers now. So even in the normal debate and the processing of a possible amendment to the Constitution, right now as a Senate, you feel better able that is now possible that you could institute a parliamentary initiative to amend the Constitution, and it would be successful because of the numbers.
No. Let me also tell you this: the immediate previous constitutional amendment attempt was on whether we can stop governors who have just finished serving from running for a seat of Senate. I think that debate, if you remember, was there, and it was in the House, in the Senate, and it failed. Were the numbers there? The numbers were there, you know, but it failed. Why? Because a constitutional bill is a very heavy matter, my friend. I am telling you, even today...
Even if it received support from the president?
Let me tell you, even if today President William Ruto, Mheshimiwa Raila, Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka, all of them have come together, even today, to try and marshal a constitutional amendment. Uhuru tried with BBI. At that time... Almost
successfully, was stopped by the courts.
Yes, but it never happened, and it would not happen even in this time.
Jovo.
So let me just finish that point by saying that the immediate former attempt to change the constitution in the Senate failed. Now, if just to stop a governor from running as a senator was a problem, do you think in the Senate, and me sitting in that, and I can tell you, as a senator for Tana River County, I would not vote to extend the time. And we are many of us, very many of us. Do you think a small amendment like that to stop a governor from running a Senate would be defeated? Do you think now extending a term, when we all know that the people will be angry out there, extending a term,
however much I would like to
it would never happen.
To agree with this gentleman from Tana River, and I remember once he claimed he does not feed on fish from Lake Victoria, but crocodiles from Tana River. However much I would like to agree with him, he said that they are not going to pass it because they know it is not accepted by people out there. The same situation we had with the finance bill. They passed it while knowing very well that Mwananchi was against it. Look at this extension of term from 5 years to 7 years. You know, to make it flow in Parliament, they have made sure that the Member of Parliament is benefiting with an extra 2 years. They have made sure that the Senator is benefiting with an extra 2 years. You know, they make it very sweet for the Member of Parliament to vote yes for that particular bill. But I believe bills are brought in to solve problems. You see, if there is insecurity, you pass new bills to give more police powers and opportunities to apprehend the criminals. They address issues. Which issue is this 7-year term addressing? What was the great need for us to change from 5 years to 7 years? That is what should have been explained to us. That if we change to 7 years, we are going to benefit on this and this and this, and you know. But now we just hear that we want to extend to 7 years. To us, we feel that this is time being robbed from us. Two, Governor, maybe he's going to become a governor. Senator Mugatana has dwelt in quite some length, you know, trying to justify what Parliament is doing. An active Parliament does not need to stand on top of houses to announce what it is doing. We will see from wherever we are. We will see and we will say Parliament is working. I want to cite, for example, was it 11th Parliament, 2013, 2017. This is one Parliament that had so much work, you know, to give a spine to the new constitution, because the new constitution had been made, but so many laws needed to be done to give strength to that constitution. And this was done, and Wananchi could see. Yes, we know it is boring to watch where people, when they are talking about agriculture and what have you, but at the end of the day, the laws were made and people knew that the laws were made. So even today, if the Parliament becomes very, very active, we don't need to be told what it is doing. We will learn from many places, and we will know what Parliament is doing. So Bwana Mugatana really don't use a lot of energy convincing us.
The President said something very curious, and I'm saying this because you've said that even if the President and Raila Odinga, including even Kalonzo Musyoka, are to support this constitutional amendment, that he would still not see the light of day in the National Assembly. And the President said something very curious last week. He talked about eradication of slums in Kenya, and he said that in the next 15 years, and I'm quoting him verbatim, in the next 15 years, we will be able to eradicate slums. And many people are wondering, he does not have 15 years. He at most has 8 years left, if at all he gets re-elected come 2027. But for him to actually see 15 years ahead, it would be very difficult for him to forecast what his predecessor or his successor would do in as far as eradication of slums. And many people did their calculation and saw that probably he used this same calculation of a 7-year term for president, which would give him a further more years. Don't you think that if the president, and now with his newfound friend Raila Odinga, supported this, that it would actually pass?
Let me tell you this for a fact. The Constitution of Kenya is very difficult to tamper with. Even if there was alliance of all the political leaders in this country, together even with their supporters, the architecture of our Constitution to be tampered with, to take us back to the dark ages of even life presidents or extended terms, is not going to work. And the president is a Democrat, he knows. His term ends 2032, that he knows. And I don't think he's willing even to extend for a day. And all Kenyans must begin thinking in that direction. And if this matter
you have previously said here on this panel that you cannot speak for the president.
Let me come to the program of 15 years. Let me come to the program of 15 years. National development of a country is not hinged to the limit of a person. We are still implementing Vision 2030 that was developed by Mwai Kibaki. Where is Mwai Kibaki? He vacated in 2012. But essentially what Jubilee administration was implementing is the framework of Vision 2030.
From that.
What William Ruto is implementing is within the framework of Vision 2030. You derive the manifesto. It is strictly aligned to Vision 2030. It is aligned to the Global Development Agenda, SDG agenda. You find it in place. It is aligned to Africa Vision 2063. When we are talking about expanding the airport so that by 2054, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport will be handling over 33 million travelers. In 2054, many of us will not be here, we shall be gone. So I would like to state that the statements that leaders make, that for example, William Ruto has said, in 15 years, there will be no slums in Kenya. His term will end in 2032. A president who will come after 2032 will continue in that trajectory of implementing the settlement. Settlements and the government development master plans are not patent properties of an individual, of a president, so that when you retire as a president, that program dies. They are meant for perpetuity. For example, when Kibaki developed Vision 2030, which has got very many pillars, it is what we are developing. That one, in the political pillar, we should have issue-based politics. We can now see we are emerging out of ethnicity. We can discuss merit. We can discuss issues. We are talking about the fiscal strengthening banks and having a strong economy so that we can leap into a middle-income country. They are now working, and very, very, very many others. And if you look at it, the infrastructure master plan of the country, the standard gauge railway, the dual highways, the LAPSET corridor, and very many others, interconnectivity of Africa. And now you can see Raila Odinga, when he was a high representative of AU of infrastructure. We are looking about connecting infrastructure in Africa, connecting the rail networks in Africa, connecting the highways, that is the roads, opening the airport.
Back to this issue of...
the Vision 2030 has grown out of Kenya, is now working in the continent.
I get you.
And the leaders who succeed other leaders, you continue with the program. So what the president said about 15 years, it should not be.
He had not calculated the 7 years.
Should not be. No.
Okay.
Should not be argued.
Yet
simplistically,
debate around
to be in office for
amending the Constitution has been very much alive in the last 2 years. Even before the elections of 2022, the BBI initiative was there. The Punguza Mzigo initiative was there. The very first memorandum to the houses or to the speakers of the two houses of parliament by the president in 2022 talked about a possible amendment to the Constitution. Raila Odinga was one of those proposing the BBI. Definitely in his mind, there are things he would want to change in this Constitution. The NADCO report is there, and it's still very much alive before the houses of parliament. Still talking about the same thing. Are we saying that this conversation that Bonacherar Gay has introduced is really misplaced? Or what are we saying exactly?
You know, maybe before I answer your question, let me just talk quickly about the point about vision. You see, vision, the Bible says, without a vision, my people perish. And it is the responsibility of every leader to give a vision of where we are going. President Moi said, Kanu will rule for 100 years. That was his vision. Yeah? And was he wrong? I think he was not wrong, because the same players I just mutated into different other political parties. Yeah? Now, President Kibaki said, Vision 2030, we will do this and the other. President William Ruto is saying, in 15 years, we shall eradicate slums. Now, would you fault a leader for explaining a vision to his people? I think not. And also knowing that we are building a political party that will outlast President Ruto. Maybe he'll still be a player. I don't think that this bottom-up economic transformation plan is going to end with William Ruto. There will be others who will drive that vision. So when he says in 15 years, I think it's part of conspiracy theory to say that now that he must have sat with Gerard Gay, they must have talked now, so they calculated in 7. It sounds like those kind of arguments you see in ridiculous arguments you see in WhatsApp groups, in the internet and so on. Now, but back to your question about okay, there's been attempts about amending Constitution here and there, and you've mentioned the various people who have talked about amending the Constitution. And even President Kibaki himself, when we were passing that Constitution, he said that, it may not be perfect, but let's begin. And then other people are saying, maybe after 10 years, when we try to ride this car after 10 years, we may look at, oh, there's this problem there, the gears weren't right, what, and then we can fix the car and make it better. Now, here is the news and the reality. Amending the Constitution is an uphill task. Even to remove the comma of any provision within that Constitution is an uphill task. And for us to amend the Constitution, Fred, let me tell you, there's something we call a constitutional moment must be reached. A constitutional moment. Now, are we in a constitutional moment right now? No. So whether you start Punguza Mizigo, whether it is I don't know what, whether it is so and so and so saying this and the other, those are just words. But have we reached a constitutional moment where everybody is feeling, no. We need, what is the problem? The problem is the Constitution. We need then to change this Constitution. Just like when we were saying, no. What is the problem? The president has too much power. Where is it coming from? It's the Constitution. We need to change this Constitution. And that's how the moment was reached. And people said, we need a new Constitution, whatever the case. Whatever, even the president was saying, I remember that day he said, this day, today, I am too happy. Nothing can make me sad today. Nothing can change. When we were now, the day we were passing the Constitution, President Kibaki's feelings were expressed. Because he knew it is a huge step and we have achieved something that for it to be achieved again, it will take us another 50 years. Remember, even for us to get our first Constitution, there was a constitutional moment. Everywhere Kenyans were feeling, what is the problem? mzungu amekuja amechukua shamba yetu, mzungu anatutawala, mzungu ndio anafanya hivi. And what is the problem? It is the laws. He is the one in charge. So we all came together and said, no, we must get a new constitution. And same, when we were saying the president has too much power, he's appointing judges, he's appointing CBK, he's a governor, he's doing everything, all the power is with him. And he's arresting us. There are no powers. There are no civil rights. All of us came together. We need a new constitution. And that's when we go to 2010 constitution. So right now, there is no constitutional moment, and there will be no change of this constitution for another 50 years.
All right.
My prediction.
We wait to see. There's already a proposal to amend the constitution before the Senate to, among other things, extend the term limits of all leaders from 5 to 7 years. Will you agree with that? Let's take another break. When we come back, we'll take a look at matters IEBC reconstitution.
Season enjoy na GoTV. Beste yako wafuta. Tuna connect na ligi zote. Jishikie GoTV leo ujina.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari.
And the debate even during the breaks is even more interesting right here at TV47. This is a State of the Nation where we discuss the bigger headlines. And now I want to take a look at one headline that's really hidden inside the papers today. It's about the reconstitution of the IEBC. It is in both dailies, the big dailies, or both on the Daily Nation and on the Standard. On the Standard, page 9, the headline reads, "Delays in IEBC recruitment puts country on edge." Recruitment team is expected to be sworn in anytime now after a long court battle. For over 2 years, the IEBC has not been properly constituted. On page 8 of the Daily Nation, no end in sight for IEBC troubles as U.S. weighs in. Incidentally, the U.S. ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman, visited the IEBC offices and had a meeting with the CEO this week. Why? Probably to express her concerns. So there are concerns that the president is deliberately delaying the commission's reconstitution. This is according to the story on page 8 of The Nation. Bwana Jude Njomo, it's been 19 months since we last had an IEBC. We've had the need for the IEBC for the longest. There was a single member of parliament for Banisa constituency who passed on I think over a year ago. There are others who have now transitioned into cabinet positions. Those positions are yet to be filled up. There's even a question on whether the IEBC should have been involved in this impeachment process and in the nomination of a deputy president. We've seen how efficient parliament can be in 1 week impeaching a deputy president. Question is, why are they not as efficient in reconstituting the IEBC? What is a big deal?
It reminds me that in 2015, I made an attempt to do an amendment to the IEBC law in Parliament. I never saw the light of the day because I did this because I had seen the gaps that were there in nomination of the selection panel of those who are supposed to select the commissioners. And we are going through the same problem now because the actual delay, in my understanding, is that there is a nominating body which has two people who are arguing. I don't remember the name of the nominating body. And these two people have gone to court. And now they have to wait for the courts to solve this problem so that they can have a fully constituted nominating body. And that is what is causing the delay. I think whoever wants to put it on president may not be privy to this information. They are waiting for a court ruling. But I think the courts needs to be sensitized. Bwana Mugatana can tell us more about this because he's a lawyer. He can tell us what needs to be done because the courts needs to understand also that there is an urgency in this matter so that it is treated with the urgency that it deserves. Because we are in a very bad situation right now. Those people who are not represented in parliament are not, I mean, it is not justice for them to be in a country where others are represented, where the national cake is being cut, and they have nobody to represent them. You know, there are other things that needs to be done. According to the Constitution, we were supposed to do a delimitation of constituencies 10 years after delimitation of the Constitution. Now it's about 14 years. There are constituencies like Ruiru, which requires like 2 other members of parliament. You know, so there are so many injustices that are being caused by this delaying in IEBC nomination, and it should be treated with urgency that it deserves, because we are really not being very fair to those who are not being represented. 2, we have a situation right now where we don't have a deputy president. God forbid, if something happens to the president, where would we be as a country? Mm-hmm. So we need to have foresight on this. We need to maybe fast track those things that needs to be done, even if it needs fast-tracking the court process, so that we have our IEBC in place, yes, so that everybody can enjoy proper representation. And
it may be that there are some matters before the courts, but the reconstitution of the IEBC has been largely a political process, and the disagreements have majored definitely between the two antagonists back then, Raila Odinga and President William Ruto Bwana Sossion. The fact that these two teams are now looking at matters probably in a more unified way. People expected that this unity may translate into a faster reconstitution of the IEBC. Despite the fact that there may be matters in court, those matters could also be sorted out politically as well. Don't you think that it could be that politicians across board are comfortable with the delay in reconstituting the IEBC?
Yeah, the delay in reconstituting the IEBC was indeed a court matter, and that touched on Azimio, and I think they were instructed the other day, the court directed that they appoint a representative to the nominating panel. That is the main reason. But the issues around reconstitution of IEBC were ironed out during the NATCO process, and there is a binding agreement within the NATCO on how to reconstitute the IEBC. And then that is a matter then, once a matter is seized within the hands of the judiciary, there is little that the executive can do, little that the parliament can also do. But now that there is an express instruction, then we expect within the next few days or weeks to see the constitution of IEBC. You know, where we have the strong doctrine of separation of powers, and while a matter is seized within a given arm of government, the other arms cannot interfere. So the only thing that we need to do is to ensure that such processes are fast-tracked. And of course, there is no doubt that there were questions around IEBC after 2022 general elections, and right now we don't have a chair and commissioners on the absolute. There are about 2 or 3 constituencies that have not conducted by-election that are represented for over 2 years. That is a travesty of justice of those people, of those particular constituencies. We must agree. Some MCAs, the by-elections need to be conducted. Those who have died or vacated office, it's an issue that needs to be done. Number 2, the major business of delimitation of constituencies in readiness for 2027 election needs to have been conducted, and it should be concluded in good time so that the country can prepare. And then number 3, audit of 2022 elections. It can only be done by a fully constituted commission made up of chairman and commissioners. And then very lastly, general preparations for 2027 election, because if the IEBC does not prepare for 2027 adequately, then it's going to affect the election process of 2027. And you see, the foundation of democracy is good conduct of credible, verifiable general elections. And this has been a big question in the country. And by with time, we are getting to that. And we would hope that by 2027, yes, we would have wanted an IEBC that is credible, that is believable, and to the extent that 3 years. People will not litigate in court after election.
There's so much work to be done. One of them, and the other 2 gentlemen I've mentioned, is the delimitation of boundaries, whose deadline lapsed in March this year, actually. We are in defiance of the Constitution in as far as delimitation of boundaries is concerned, meaning that even the elections of 2027 could just as well be challenged if at all the delimitation doesn't happen. Would a reconstituted IEBC be able to carry out at this time? Because we're still talking about the panel. There's still the reconstitution of the commission itself. Would the commission be able to carry out a delimitation of boundaries ahead of the 2027 election and still have enough time to prepare for a general election?
Yeah, everything is possible. From where I sit, it is possible to actually carry out those functions. And nation media unfairly blames the president. When you look at their titling, they're saying the president is being blamed for the delays. But when you read what Standard has given, because Standard has given more information, Standard is clear that the delay in reconstitution of the panel is because of the Azimio coalition. They are not agreeing between two people who want to be part of that constitution of the panel. But we thank God because a decision has now been made that Koki Muli is the one who is going to be sitting. So the hope is that by probably next week, that panel will be constituted, and the processes will follow. We'll get the commissioners come in, because Senate and National Assembly, we finished our business. So it is the application of the laws that we pass and the regulations that has caused delay. But I think once they take off, because now this was the hurdle, and I know that the other person who lost that case has filed an appeal, but he doesn't have a stay. So I think they can go on to reconstitute the panel, and then that selection panel will then choose the commissioners. Once the commissioners are chosen, some can divide, some can start focusing on the procurement processes for the elections, the general elections in 2027. Some can focus on the delimitation of the boundaries. It's going to be enough personnel to do that work, and they are well resourced, so there should be no issues. In fact, the immediate concern will be to carry out this general election, these by-elections, like has been mentioned, Banisa. In the coast, we have Magarini. Magarini also is now up for grabs, and many wards. Even in Tana River County, we have a ward called Chewani Ward, which we lost our very able MCA who was sitting there, Mheshimiwa the late Ndoeni. So we need to agree that now that the biggest hurdle has been overcome, the rest of the processes will follow, and we should be able to have a functional IEBC that will carry out the elections in 2027.
Yet the fact remains that the genesis of this problem was purely political. It wasn't a legal one. Are we certain that these same politics won't come into play in the next few weeks, that they may have agreed on one thing or the other, but the disagreements that persisted could still be there?
Well, that's a possibility. And also, you know, there's quite a bit of process after this, because this is just a nominating panel, which will nominate and maybe interview those who are proposed to be commissioners before they submit them now to other authorities who are going to appoint. So there's quite some bit of process to be done after this. But also we have noticed that it's like IEBC is still there, because Kidiki was easily approved by IEBC within less than 24 hours. So there must be some kind of IEBC that is in existence as we speak.
Yes.
You know, because how was he vetted?
Even without the commissioner,
when there is no chairman, when there is no commission. It looks like maybe there are ways which can be done. We have the elections done as we appoint the commission, as we appoint the commissioners. I mean, everything is possible, you know, around this time. But it is very, very important that the process is clear, because if we don't constitute a proper IEBC, this can even cause war in this country. We have seen bloodshed in countries caused by elections that are not fairly managed. We would like to have an IEBC that will be credible and that will be believable. Especially after what happened in the last elections, there were so many, loopholes that people were not happy about. What are they going to do about our electronic transmission system that sometimes seems to be delivering information that is different from what was delivered from the polling station? How are they going to make us believe in them? How are they going to make us trust them that whatever they are going to tell us is the correct thing? Right. It is very, very important that we as citizens believe in IEBC as an arbiter.
Right. The debate around the reconstitution of the IEBC, it is one of those big headlines that probably we should be seeing on the front pages. 19 months later, we still don't have an Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and that may have serious repercussions in case of some happenings in Kenya today. As we come to the end of our conversation, I'd want to draw your attention to the kind of interest generated on all the front pages today. On the front page of the Star, we have two images, two pictures of the same person, the fourth president of the Republic, Uhuru Kenyatta. As you make your final comments, this is the first time Uhuru Kenyatta is seen in public after a very long time. There had been even speculation about his health and his whereabouts, and this time he's seen arriving in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire on Thursday for the 15th high-level retreat on the promotion of peace, security and stability in Africa. Buena Sosion, I'll give you the first go as you make your final remarks. You could also comment on that. This picture is on all the front pages, I think about from the Daily Nation. It's also on the People Daily and on the Standard as well.
I think that there's a lot of interest for the country and for the governance, the executive and parliament to put in place mechanisms to ensure proper delivery of services and justice to the people of Kenya, ranging from implementation of IEBC, implementation of the key pillars promised to the people of Kenya through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, particularly the rollout of universal health coverage. It is here to stay so that all Kenyans can be treated qualitatively without going into their savings to spend for healthcare, the housing plan, which of course is a great vision of the president, that then in 15 years this country should eliminate slums and we should have organized human settlement. And 3, agriculture, reforming agriculture very strongly so that we can sustain and produce food enough to feed our country and export, and of course strengthening the ICT infrastructure and moving fully into the 4th industrial revolution, which is an economy that is digitally driven, and of course strengthening the micro, small, medium enterprises. I'm also excited to see my friend, the 4th president of the Republic, going about peace work in Africa, and I would wish to see each and every president of this republic retiring to be the greatest statesman and probably coming up with presidential libraries so that we have time to study the presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta for the last 10 years, those who interacted with him, what he did, what he believed, what he achieved, what he failed to achieve. And we can institutionalize these offices for posterity and for stabilizing the country for purposes of democracy. We would like to have the institution of retired presidents as the greatest reference points of statesmanship and stability of the country, so that then when William Ruto joins this team, he can also do legacy work within. And we see William Ruto Presidential Library, and we develop a democracy that is self-perpetuating, that is self-succeeding, that even a president now can develop a vision for the next 100 years for the country, and it is attained for the next 50 years. We have a good country to keep, and let us keep it growing through vibrant democracy and protecting our resources. And I would not forget to say, we bring corruption to zero. Oh, yes. And if it is brought to zero, this indeed is a great, resilient economy and a great country of great people.
And Mwalimu, I thought you would mention that we are currently going through the national exams.
And we wish all our children, of course, because exams affect all the households, all the households in this country, and this is a country that values education of its children, and all households are affected. We wish all our students who are going through evaluation of KPSEA exams in grade 6 and KCSE students who actually number the highest number ever, 1 million. And
before I let you go,
we'll have a transition of at least 40% of the 1 million universities, and all of them to tertiary institutions.
Shortage of science teachers, especially for CBC and junior secondary. And I want to get your word on that, because
that is
the very first cohort of CBC
and let me tell you, the country did not prepare for CBC. That's a fact. I've always stated that. The other flip side of the coin is that there are obvious gaps that we have, and TSC cannot wake up and tell us today, when they have not even developed a curriculum-based establishment. You know what? A curriculum-based establishment is a policy document and format that tells you how many teachers you require for the different areas. It is not only science teachers. Do we have music teachers? Do we have power mechanics teachers, electricity teachers, home science teachers? Did we train teachers for the various learning areas of CBC? We did not. This is where we may need another further national conversation and maybe a referendum, and we need a referendum act on that. Let us not sweep it under the carpet. Okay. Let us call a spade, okay, and not a big spoon.
Thank you so much, I have opened a can.
Yes, you have gone to areas where he can really talk about, and I like the way he has done his conclusion, because he has reminded me of government. He has talked like government, you know, talking so many things, too much English, but which is never attained. You know, our founding fathers told us simple things. Tunataka kupigana na ujinga, umaskini, ugonjwa, some very basic things. And this is what we should keep asking ourselves. How far have we gone as far as this is concerned? Okay, as far as ujinga is concerned, I think we have done quite well in terms of our education, in terms of the number of universities that we have, in terms of those who are able to qualify, and we ask ourselves, where else do we need to go? In terms of umaskini, how far have we gone? We were very, very hopeful with the top-up, the bottom-up economic model, as it was proposed during the campaigns. But today, go to Gachagua and ask any of those people who are going there, how is this helping us? You know, it is neither here nor there. People don't feel the effect. We need to really focus on economic empowerment of our people, because our country will only be economic power when our people are empowered economically. And that is, I think, where we lose it many, many times, because we focus in doing maybe some too big things and forget those very basic things that are going to help our people. And by helping our people, we help our economy. We need to get our people out of poverty. If the government is going to invest in agriculture like the way they did in Galana, down to his neighborhood, let the government not think of doing it itself. Let it empower the people so that the people can do it. Let the government provide the infrastructure that will allow people to thrive. And when the people thrive, they pay taxes, the government gets its money. I think that is one area we really need to focus in. I was reading a book by former Chief Cabinet, Mudhaura. He was chief head of public service. And in one of the areas he's talked about how the Kibaki government introduced the border industry to support employment. Now that was something that was done like 10, 15 years ago. Today, look at the way it has affected our economy. You know, today I'll sit in my house, just make a call, border brings me something from the hardware. You know, they have changed the way the economy is. I attended a border conference which was in Kiambu when they were starting their own circle. And I was amazed to learn that the kind of turnover that the border industry have in Kenya is equivalent to the turnover that Safaricom is having. Why don't we come up with other similar ideas where it will help us to put food on our table? We will stop importing what we need for our daily food, and we produce it as a country, instead of letting all the waters that is in our rivers go to Lake Victoria, to Indian Ocean.
Thank you so much.
Utilized.
Jomo, finally, Senator.
Yes, the picture of President Uhuru on the dailies is showing him being received by Bankole. Bankole is the commissioner in charge of peace and security of the African Union. Now, Kenyans listening to me, you should know that there's the General Assembly where the president sits in African Union, and then there's the council, the council of the AU Commission, where it is like the secretariat of the presidents, where now Honorable Raila Odinga is trying to be chairman. Then there is the Council of Ministers, and then there is ourselves, Pan-African parliamentarians. So Bankole is like the Minister for Internal Security. He's a very important figure. He is in the AUC. He is like a minister in charge of peace and security. So President Uhuru is coming into a meeting, and it's a high-level meeting. If you read the notes, you will see Specioza Kasibwe, the former Vice President of Uganda for many years, is also in that high-level meeting. Now, This African continent, what we tend to do is to tap into retired prime ministers, retired presidents, to help us when we have difficult situations. So what President Uhuru is doing is a good thing, and it's very good for our nation to have our former leaders involved and respected in the continent. Same thing, that's why we should all join up in supporting Honorable Raila for the chairmanship. As for President Ruto, currently, he is a very highly respected person, and those who know will remember that on, was it Tuesday, we were with the president and the president of Pan-African Parliament when we went to pay a courtesy call to him on the issues of reform, because President Ruto now has been elected by the Assembly of Heads of State to be the person leading reforms of the AU organs, which is a position that President Kagame was previously holding. So he's the champion of reforms of the African continent. So you see here, you see President Ruto has some space in the continent. You see President Uhuru still playing a role. We see maybe Honorable Raila taking a position. Kenya has become a very important powerhouse. Okay. And despite all our issues within ourselves, I think we have every reason to be proud of our nation. And every time I go to the Pan-African Parliament as head of delegation, every time I stand to speak, the entire Africa, 55 countries, they want to hear what is Kenya saying. And we have carried the flag high with Professor Kamar, Mheshimiwa Mukami, Mheshimiwa Majimbo Kalasinga, Mheshimiwa Pasaris. 5 of us are representing the continent. So it's a very good thing for this nation, and that is why I guess it has occupied the headlines.
Quite some excitement there, which is the former president there.
I also think, Edie, that yes, people are really thirsting for the president. Yes. And I think maybe it's high time he makes a tour. He makes a tour of the country so that people can really quench their.
Asante Sana. Jude Njomo, former MP Kiambu Town, Danson Mungatana, Senator Tana River, and Wilson Sosion, former MP and also former SG of Kenya National Union of Teachers. That has been State of the Nation right at T47. After the break, another conversation coming up, conflict resolution in slums. Do stand by for that. And remember, it is a Feel Good Friday, so there's still a lot of music coming later on with DJ Granite and that interview with none other than Mbarambamba. Do stand by for that. My name is Fred Ndimuli. Good morning.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers.
Thank you very much for sticking around. This is Morning Cafe. I'm usually Stanley Nyiringita. It's a feel-good Friday, and some ones and twos, threes and fours here, DJ Granite, will be coming your way in a few. But before that, I want us to have a very, very important conversation that really touches a huge percentage of the country. Actually, according to United Nations Habitat, a report they had back in 2007, they say 54.7% of Kenya's population lives in informal settlements. And this number, since 2007 up to now, has definitely increased, and we have the right minds for this conversation, particularly just to know, out of all these years and right now, and the fact that these numbers may just increase when conflicts arise and the new challenges that crop up, what should be done? What should the authorities therein do when it comes to alternative dispute resolution? And who is really supposed to be involved in all this resolution? Joining us today, Evelyn Bright. She is the founder of Certified Mediators and Advisory Limited Company. Welcome.
Thank you.
Also, Tom Auser. He is the president of the National Community-Based Organizations Council. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
The last time, Tom, we were way back, some couple of years, discussing elections and all that.
Yes. Now you didn't have any more business for me.
Good to have you, sir. First off, I think I'll start with this particular data, and that's way back in 2007. Some recent data goes on to show how, for Nairobi specifically, I'll start with you, Evelyn, on this one. Nairobi's population, 60% of Nairobi's population live in informal settlements. This data, first of all, I'm curious. I mean, for both of you, you'll tell me how the collection of some of this data is. But then when you take a look at the structure of these informal settlements and gathering data even from these places, the challenges that might be in that. But then when you take a look at this data, this is half of Kenya's population that lives in informal settlements. What do you think about this?
Well, we are still, or we should very much accept that we are a third world country. That I will start with. But hello, thank you.
Yes.
For welcoming me on TV 47. It's my first time.
How does it feel, by the way? Studios
Well,
and everything.
the setting is pretty good, and it feels quite homely. Yeah, I hope I'll be here a little more often. So yeah, I'll get straight back to the point that we are a third world country, and we have to accept that. Kenya, where it stands right now, I think it's one of the top African countries that are growing at a very good rate or speed. And with that, definitely there's a very big mass or big numbers that we're going to leave behind. The gap is going to grow wider between the wealthy and we would call them the okay.
Then the privileged.
Well, such words, tomorrow they might be ahead of you. So they are okay where they are until they figure out where they need to be. So when we speak of 54%, yes, that is half of Kenya. It gets quite tough. As you just asked right now, how do you go around this? Because they never really settle in the same place all the time. And it's literally, where can I survive? How can I survive? If it doesn't work out in this part of the slum, they will definitely have to shift to the next. But we have to categorize them age-wise. That is the easiest, and maybe gender sometimes makes it a lot easier for you to collect the data that you're looking for. So you look at the number of women in the slum, young mothers, like really we're talking about now teenagers who are mothers. That is gender, at the same time age. And then you also look at the youth, you generalize them. This is both genders. What is the number like? Then you also look at now the heads of certain groups and families and etc. Putting them in these kind of categories helps you to quickly have the map of how the slum is running. And once you have that kind of data, then you can easily penetrate into what is their thoughts, how are they living, and etc., what is their pain. And when it comes in with mediation on our side, there is no category, no person, be in the slums, be in the uptown, or I don't know, the big White House. We all know that there's disputes everywhere. So we're literally everywhere. But the slum, yes, is quite challenging. Thank you.
And even before I come to you, also remember you can always be part of this conversation. 2047 is our SMS number. 0793 267 279 is our WhatsApp number. According to you, if you live in these informal settlements, if you have been there, what do you think should be the right mechanism of doing alternative dispute resolution, or rather actually the kind of right mechanism on conflict resolution? Tom, being someone who is deeply rooted. I mean, there's so many community-based organizations in informal settlements in Nairobi and even other places. Kuna kuga na kitu watu sema, ukitembea mahali kama Kibera and you do not live there, watu hapo watajua pana, this person does not live here, is not among, among us. First of all, why is that? And also, tell us, what are the roots of these conflicts in these places?
Well, in places like Kibera, Mathare, Huruma, those slums, most people there survive from hand to mouth. There's nothing to save, and sometimes they don't even have enough for their meals in the day. And then again, when you live in Runda or in Lavington, go to such places, you are so careful, you fear everybody around you. I mean, you must be noted because the way you behave, the way you look at people, the way you are careful not to lose your phone and other things, you'll just be noted that this guy is from somewhere else. Anyway, one of the reasons why we could never get rid of the slums in Kenya is because when we come up with programs that are supposed to improve the lives of the slums, those people who live there cannot afford the kind of budget that comes with it. So they move to another place where they start another slum.
Okay.
That's why you see, like in Kibera, we have had efforts to come up with affordable and new, better houses. But has Kibera changed? No. Kibera will never change. If you removed Kibera completely from this city, we will start another Kibera somewhere else. So the point is that the government must come up with good policies that can allow or make these people afford to live the life that they want to upgrade them to. Mm-hmm. The houses that were given to residents of Kibera slums dwellers were actually somehow changed hands to another level class of people. Those who own them don't stay there. They have hired those houses to another class of people for them to get income to go and live in another new slum somewhere else.
And from what I'm getting from you is this challenges are sort of interconnected. So as you say, if you removed, let's say, Kibera and placed it in another place, the same conflicts will still arise and they're still interconnected. So first off, as you talk about government policies, what is the first thing that should be done?
Well, we should not have a budget for people like you are coming up with affordable houses, which I'm not against. Mm-hmm. Then you say people are going to pay 3,000 a month. This person does not have 3,000 free money a month to pay to the government to get better living conditions. So the government must come up with fully funded project that the slum dwellers are not going to be forced to pay for them to own them. In fact, I think most people in Kenya, most investors can build houses and sell them at the same prices because land is given to them for free.
I think there should be a kind of like a system to help the people's mindset first, because if the people are not well developed, it becomes quite hard for them to adopt anything new that you bring in. As the president here has just mentioned it makes a lot of sense. He handles these people every single day. If it was me and you, and we're moved to a city that we have not lived in before, the question would be, what is your income or your capacity for you to keep up with the lifestyle in that city? So that is the same challenge that the people in the slums have. You've brought out the new buildings, you've brought out a new living. They have not lived like that before.
But the mindset is still there.
The mindset is still not ready to adapt to it, one. Two, you're not giving them a chance, an opportunity, a training, a skill, a way, a hope to have their way through it to fit in. So the easier ones, or the ones who do not really want the stress and maybe to lose the little that they're holding on to, will run to the new Kibera, as President here has
coming
mentioned.
to disputes within the communities,
Yes.
living within those setups of slums in these many areas in Nairobi. Most slums are actually in the cities. You know, because the resources there are so minimal, and life in the slum is a bit too low than compared to other places. There's so many disputes that comes up every single day.
Do you think what Brett is talking about, the mindset bit of it, really is a key factor in this? If you're in this place,
yes,
and we're calling it, let's say, TV47 slum, for example, and all these particular interconnected challenges are here. But then, for years, there is an upgrade that has been going on. Yes. Infrastructure and all that. But then the mindset on these people still continues. There are groups that were formed here by people who wanted to make sure that easy resources, we still make sure that they're ours. Water, we are the ones controlling them. And these are just de facto kind of groups. Do you think these are the root cause?
The problem is when you decide for those people who live in the slum, they're not part of it. You go make decisions in boardrooms and then go impose on them. If you can have them on board from the scratch, how do you want your life to be upgraded to what level and how? What is the time period you have? You cannot tell people next year I want to move you to Rwanda, and they are used to living in Kibera. They know how to get water, how to get their pay for their washrooms. You are taking them to another level and asking them to pay. That is the biggest problem. If you want to solve a problem in the slum, involve those people. They will give you ideas, and actually I think they have very good ideas, how they want, where they want to go, how they want their lives to proceed from where they are. So until the time when you have them on board from decision making, then we will succeed. But when we make decisions and take those decisions to implement in the slums, it will never work.
And now that bit of even the whole decisions, the public participation bit, Evelyn, this is your forte here. The aspect of having people come, we did see this in the public participation during the Deputy President's impeachment process. Yeah. But then now having it in this kind of a setup where you have public barazas, halls, for example, and people come and they air out their views. What is your view on how this has been done? Because it has been done before in different things, how we need to construct water, our sanitation, education. It has been done in different slums in the country. But how best should it be done such that the Mama Mboga who comes to this hall feels like whatever idea she has, as he says, they have amazing ideas. Whatever idea she says, at the end of the day, yes, yes.
Yeah, I hear you. And that is why CMA is here. As the president and founder of CMA, the idea, the dream was to have that gap closed, build the bridge between governance and the society. It's key. Recently, I'll just tap into what we all experienced recently when the riots went off. Nobody thought that they would even take more than 2-3 days. Nobody knew that they would go to the levels that they got to. But why all that? Because the people feel like they're not listened to, they're not heard. And the leaders are out there to represent or make sure that the people, the society, is well led. So I always keep saying, as you said, what is the best way to have this resolved, or to have at least these conflicts not in place, or exceeding our expectations? Always let's put leadership to the level of something that we all understand. We talk about like a family or home structure. There's always leadership. Not so. Governance or the government level has no any difference between the home structure. Would you be in your house, run everything yourself with your own ideas every single day without involving your kids, your wife, or the people that are in the house? They'll feel like you're running them over. So it is important to have that one-on-one engagement. So these community gatherings, grouping them according to their understanding. You just mentioned the Mama Mbogas. At CMA right now, we have got a whole team of over 500 female farmers that have their own complaints. And the question here is, why are they only the female farmers? They feel they're sidelined. They feel like if they go to the people who understand them, who are like them, they will have their issues maybe well noted or tabled the way they would want. It's the same way with the youth. The same thing with the other groups in the society. So if we can start formulating structures, and this, according to my own experience, the time that we've spent going to the field, let it start from the grassroots, not from up. Because when the system comes from up to the grassroots, it's breaking the people.
So basically the bottom-up kind of kind of approach.
Let us start consulting from the people. You're the youth. How do you visualize your tomorrow? How would you want Kenya to be? Can we think together? Tomorrow, when we are holding seminars, when we are holding workshops with all the university students here of Kenya, let's say we do this quarterly. Every 4 months, we have a gathering of all top university students according to certain maybe subjects that we want to cover.
Okay.
If we're talking about taxation, if we're talking about politics, let's have these students, they're there. Can they contribute? Can they give us their say about what they think, where they want to be? Because they're tomorrow's leaders.
But also, the level of education here,
yes.
One would wonder. There's a Swahili saying that says, kutembea kwingi ni kuona mengi. And one would wonder, for these people, I mean, having them here, if they were born in this particular informal settlement, they were raised here, they went to school here, they haven't exited from this place. The kind of ideas and ideologies they bring in here, so one would wonder, I mean, will they bring so much development?
I want to remind you that people in the slums actually work for the rich. So their lives is not about, that is where they go to settle at the end of the day.
Okay.
But during the day, they are in Runda building very good houses. They are associating with very experienced people in life. And mostly, I mean 90% of their lives, it's good places. So they have all the experience that we expect that anybody will have who's in the city. So you cannot say, because they live in the slums, that's how they see life. They see life better than most of us, only that they don't have opportunity to get to where they want to go.
How about the level of education here?
I believe even people in the slums, because I associate with them a lot,
okay.
They are also fairly learned.
All right.
Yes.
Let's take a short break, as well as Ausa. Even as we also contemplate on this, when we come back, just still trying to understand the challenges here in the informal settlements, not only in Nairobi, but also in Kenya. We'll be right back. Anza load your SMSs. Right, I'm actually being told we should be wrapping up. So I'll take your last thoughts on what should be done progressively, if you're talking about, because these numbers are going to be increasing in the next even 15 years. Are we going to still be having Kibera being named as the largest slum in the country, but then, and even for what kind of a name on it? I'll start with you.
What keeps pulling our legs in the slums is because we have never had proper access of CMA ideas of solving our issues within the community without going to the courts and the prisons, and that most of our youth waste a lot of time in courts because of small, very petty crimes.
Okay.
So now that CMA is in place, that has been launched officially in Kenya, I believe that we're going to solve most of the issues that we have in the slums that arise from resources that are not enough for those people, and very petty crimes because they live very close to each other.
Right.
If that is properly, if the word of mediation, and mediation is done properly, we will improve the lives of our slum dwellers.
Right. In the world of mediation, it's your forte here.
Yes, CMA, as Certified Mediators and Advisory Board, we're here to change the whole ball game. When it comes to solving any kind of disputes, we're here to say, let's sit and talk and remain one as a family and grow together. So the more we are fighting litigation, or the more we are trying to drift our society away from litigation, because it's quite costly, time consuming, at the same time, our people, as you say, does our education really support what we are doing or help us to get where we are? Most people don't understand the law and they're in fear of it. So if we can start now by empowering people like the police and the rest to try and start using more of mediation, because the top best mediators we have are police officers. They're the first people that our society reaches out to. So if they are well trained, as CMA is having the structures to put in place, we are going to have different trainings for police officers. We're looking forward to having at least trainings for all the 47 county chiefs, women councillors. We're looking at now putting together some proper curriculums that are going to be in all the schools, from primary all the way to universities. So when kids from day one learn how to resolve issues, the alternative dispute resolutions, these are called ADRs, it becomes a lot easier for them as they get older to know how to handle such petty little misunderstandings here and there.
Right.
And with the CBOs, we have noticed that they are growing because they're being guided by a person who has seen all this on ground and in different areas. So CMA working hand in hand with government stakeholders and other sectors like this. We're looking at partnership with like Cohesion, Vision 2030 and the rest. There will be a big change. We're looking by the time of the elections, there should be peace. There should be a platform where people can talk to leaders without knocking heads.
The conflict of it all. Thank you very much, Tom Ausa, President, National CBO Council, as well as Evelyn Bright. She's a founder of Certified Mediators and Advisories Limited Company. Thank you very much. I hope back at home you've learned a thing or two. Mbrambamba is coming in a few, so mnaweza relax hapo.
Also, we are awarding people who have done extremely well in these areas on 2nd of next month.
All right.
Yes. So even you come, we might award you because you called us.
2nd of November is the day. Thank you very much. We're taking a short break. Feel Good Friday is definitely coming your way. DJ Granite ametayarisha playlist vizuri sana. He is a turntablist himself, so jitayarishe for all that. Anza kutuambia 22047 is our SMS number. Mtuambie request yako ni gani. Bansi Kimuyu, she is your weekend key. Atakuwa hapo hivi na wewe. Anza kutayarisha viti, meza, kila kitu hapo hivyo for you, because this is Morning Cafe. I'm usually Stanley Nyaringita. Kwa heri for now.
Download the Base app.
Go TV, love it.